We have invited people that have different views to our show today so that we can hear some of the views that this year's new voters will bring to this year's presidential election. We have with us today a school shooter survivor, a mental health advocate, and an NRA member. Over recent years, we have seen gun violence in schools and various other places. This generation has the first chance to vote this year and has grown up seeing this. The views that these young adults have are going to affect this year's election. These people's views on gun control are shaped by their experiences, personality, and how they were raised. I hope that this will open people's minds to various opinions of gun control. Today we'll be talking about the underlying reasons of why school shootings and mass shootings happen, how to curb the rate at which they happen, and what the role of government is to help. Let's first discuss the underlying causes that result in school shootings. Alright, thank you. I can start. Being a school shooting survivor, I believe that school shootings happen because there is a lack of surveillance of the students. This leads to people being able to come up with these crazy plans and do them. According to The Guardian, the author Beckett says that there is already tech companies that scan what is typed and written by students to see if they are planning a suicide or a mass shooting. Therefore, if we are able to take these seriously and figure them out ahead of time, then we would have less problems. I can go next. Being a mental health advocate, there is a disconnect with the available mental health services that are available to people. And we have found that a lot of time, people that do these aren't in their right mind. According to the journal article talking about mass shootings, the author says that mental illness causes school shootings. If there were services available, then this would be less likely to happen. Being an NRA member, I believe that it's not the guns that are the issue, it's the people. According to an article by Psychology Today, Dr. Johnson says that violent people will stay violent. I agree that this is a mental health related issue, but want to stress that it's not guns that are the problem here, it's the people that misuse guns. Moving on now, we have established our beliefs for the underlying causes. Now let's look at ways to cut down on the amount. Once again, being a school shooting survivor, I think that it's on the schools. I think that there should be safety measures in place like metal detectors to make sure that these things don't make it into school grounds. According to phototechsecurity.com, author says metal detectors are highly effective at alerting staff to any fire alarms that students attempt to smuggle into schools. This has been an effective method and should be widely implemented. I think that given that I'm a mental health advocate, I think that we should increase background checks so that people cannot get their hands on guns that shouldn't. According to the Forbes article by Hallie, she states that there are less school shootings in states with better background checks. I think that this would allow us to weed out the people that aren't stable enough to get guns, and this would curb the issue most effectively. Being an NRA member, I support people having guns. I think the best way to deal with this is to make sure that people have training to deal with school shootings when they happen. According to the National Center for Education statistics, the author says that 93% of school shootings have run lockdown procedures and they were successful. This is an effective method, and I think that we should deal with the people that do these by ensuring that we are prepared so that no one gets hurt. Finally, let's discuss the role of government. The role of government is or isn't to fix the issue. What should they do, if anything? As a school shooting survivor, I think that the role of government is to do all it can to prevent school shootings and other mass shootings. I think that they need to give funding to schools and places that hold large gatherings to allow them to add safety measures to schools and events. According to a Forbes article by Honor, he states that schools need more funding to make sure that they can keep students safe. I think that this is the best thing that they can do to keep people safe. As a mental health advocate, I think that there is a need for the government to make stricter background checks for gun buyers, to make sure that people who aren't sane to get their hands on them. According to a New York Times article, the author states that many states are starting to implement measures that allow law enforcement to flag and seize weapons from those who are deemed to be an intimate threat. This has shown to be helpful in the fight against people getting their hands on guns and being able to do things that they shouldn't. And I believe that this should be made a law by the government. As an NRA member, I believe that it is important to make sure that the government doesn't infringe on our Second Amendment rights to bear arms. It is important that the civilians can protect themselves against the government, if it ever came to that. Therefore, I don't think the government should do anything except for make sure that our rights are protected. Now that we have looked at why it is an issue, ways to fix the issue of guns, and the role of government in this matter, we now know the various views of our new voters. We can see how that their views will manifest in this presidential election. We have all been affected by school shootings, and it is time to put an end to it, and it's everyone's job to do something about it. See something, say something.